Hello, welcome back to another video on SW Fight Hub. I've got Liam Tully and Jason Murphy with me today. How are we, boys?
Good.
All good, guys. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you, boys. So we're going to crack on. Says it on the screen. What is next for Chris Eubank Jr.? We got his hit list yesterday, and I'm going to make you laugh with this one, boys. We've got Conor Benn, Billy Joe Saunders. We've got a bit of Canelo sprinkled in there. We've got Terence Bud Crawford after his Madrimov fight. We've even got Erislandy Lara thrown in there. He mentioned other middleweight champions, but I noticed he decided to pick the 41-year-old WBA champion, Erislandy Lara, and there was no mention of a certain Janibek in there. But he did say middleweight champion, so we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But really, the hard facts, jokes aside, Chris Eubank Jr. last fought in September against Liam Smith. Obviously, he fought in January before that, but he hasn't fought anybody not named Liam since 2021 because his last fight before that was Liam Williams. He's age 34 now. I'll throw it to you, Liam, first because, while we're on the talk of Liams, what's going on with Chris Eubank Jr.?
I really don't know what to say at this point. You would have thought the momentum of beating Liam Smith, okay, he's going to roll into big fights now. He's been inactive since. He's been out in America, hasn't he, for the last year. He came back last week, as I'm sure we all saw on his social medias. And now he's brought out this hit list of either fighters that have just fought, fighters who are tied up in fights, or fighters who, for other reasons outside of the ring, can't box at the moment. He hasn't actually given us one opponent there. You could say, okay, right, before the end of this year, realistically, you can see him fight. Lara could lose his world championship next month, and then that isn't even a fight there for him. So it's a fight list full of chat, full of hot air, as we used to see from Eubank, and there's no actual substance there.
Yeah, no, completely agree with that. You know, like you say, Conor Benn doesn't even have a license to fight in Britain right now. You know, Crawford, it seemed like the fight was going to happen at one point. Canelo, it seemed like the fight was here or there. But for whatever reason, these other fighters seem to get the fights over the line and get done. And Chris Eubank Jr. seems to be, right back round to the start. What do you think, Jason?
I mean, I pulled over and got Sky Sports News on at 2:30, a big countdown, even though I knew
what was that about? Why'd you clickbait people into...
Because that's what he does. I mean, he's coming on the coattails of his dad. If he was Chris Robinson, a pro that had 14 amateur fights turned over, he would be nowhere near where he is at the minute. He's always talked a good game. His dad said he was the man to dethrone Floyd Mayweather eventually, knowing that Floyd was half out the door. He's always had the names like Triple G, Golovkin. Let's be real. Chris Eubank Jr. is a decent level fighter, right? But without the Eubank name, he wouldn't have got the fights he got. When he's boxed at elite level, Billy Joe Saunders beat the brakes off him. All right, Billy Joe tired towards the end and it became a little bit closer. But
George Groves scored him.
Groves beat him from pillar to post. Every time he's stepped up, he's flattered to deceive. The casual fan that sort of knows his dad, sort of, will buy into it. The same as with Conor Benn. But with Conor Benn, for me, I think he's got a little bit more about him. I personally don't want to see that fight. I just don't think it makes any sense. It's stale. Even if it's stale, it's just the names alone. But the miles apart in weight, right? They are. Eubank's are bordering on super middleweight.
Yes, yeah.
147. He could weigh 154 with his clothes on, maybe. Do you know what I mean? They're just making that fight for the pantomime. He's done it again. He's done a big grand announcement, and it were basically to say, me and Boxer have got a plan. Right, okay, you should have a plan anyway with your promotional stable. All of the fights that he's listed, I'm 47. I think Lara's closer to my age than he is to Eubank Jr.'s age. No disrespect to Lara, because back in the day at welterweight, light middleweight, he was fantastic. He was a really good fighter, and I at one point thought he would beat the likes of Pacquiao and would mix.
He performed well against Canelo. He done well against Canelo.
Yeah, Canelo a good fight.
But again, Chris Eubank is doing it for clickbait. That, like you said in the beginning, Sam, why did he do it? He's done it for clickbait. He is half in, half out of this YouTube. He does online YouTube casino and poker and that kind of thing. So he's sort of in that. He's pretty well known in America, but not off the back of him winning any world titles. I think he won an IBO, didn't he?
He's an IBO champion. Yeah, he's an IBO champion.
Stuff like it was a real belt. Now, I remember his dad winning the WBO belt and it not being taken seriously. So there's nothing to say that in another 10 years, that's not seen as a prestige title. It's not 10 years. We're here now. He needs to put up or shut up. It's that simple for me. I'm sick of hearing about it.
I think everything you need to know about the IBO title, when he fought Groves refused to pay his sanctioning fee to the IBO, so that belt wasn't on the line for him for that fight. Everything you need to know about the IBO belt is in that. Whereas Eubank Jr. has fought for it twice, has 2 vacant titles, and actually calls himself a 2-time world champion.
He had it round his waist for a week, going into nightclubs and having sparklers in champagne bottles.
If we're being brutally honest, the best belt Eubank Jr. has ever won is the British title when he beat Nick Blackwell. That is the best title he's won. He's won the IBO twice, and he's been an interim WBA champion.
Yeah,
only true belt he's held to the British.
So, that's up there with one of his best wins for me. I mean, Nick Blackwell at the time was a very good fighter. I know
he just stopped John Ryder. Nick Blackwell had at that time. He knocked out John Ryder.
Nick Blackwell, I think, if he hadn't have had his brain injury, would be in this sort of mix with all of them
for sure.
And he beat Liam Smith. Liam Smith didn't look half the fighter that he was. When
Liam was injured. Liam Smith was injured going into that rematch with Eubank, no question.
So he's done nothing in the last 2 years, really, other than get stopped by Liam.
Yeah, just before we wrap it up,
was 8 years ago.
Just before we wrap it up, then, boys, just want to ask you both individually: who do you think Eubank's going to fight next? I've heard rumors, and it's not going to happen. I heard rumors it's going to be Janabek on Beterbiev versus Bivol, but that's just not happening. Who do you think? Is it going to be a big name, or is it going to be a some no-namer?
For me, I'll go first. For me, it'll be. I don't think it'll be a no-namer, but it will be somebody like John Ryder, that type of. Obviously,
he's retired. I think.
No, what I meant is it's going to be somebody on that sort of fringe.
Right.
European level. No disrespect to John Ryder. I know he recently boxed Canelo towards the end, but I don't think it's going to be anybody that we certainly won't be making another one of these about the announcement, other than we'll all be disappointed. There's no names for me that jump out, and he's apparently he's really hard to negotiate with.
Hamza Shiraz was another one who was in negotiations with. Was he not for the Wembley card? How many people can you negotiate with? The famous Golovkin story where he lost the pen. How many people can you negotiate with before you become the common denominator? What do you think, Liam? Who's he going to fight?
I'd like it to be someone of deal, because Shane Mosley Jr., another up-and-coming fighter, someone that if he beats, you could say he's on the level. I had a look on Boxer Up earlier. Looking at, there's an Irish fighter called Aaron McKenna who's unbeaten in 20 fights.
He's in
that's Stevie's brother, isn't it? That's Stevie McKenna.
Okay, fair enough.
He's fighting Kieran Conway in the prize fighter. He's a good fighter.
There you go. But I feel someone on that type of level, unbeaten, but doesn't have the name value. Yeah, no risk for him. But Mosley Jr., I'd love to see. I feel like that'd be a great.
He just who did he just beat?
Danny Jacobs.
Danny Jacobs, yeah, he did. Yeah, he just beat Danny Jacobs. But yeah, we'll see what happens here. Obviously you can feel three hardcore boxing fans here venting their frustration on what's happening. Ultimately, Junior is talented. He's 34. For me, he hasn't fulfilled his potential. You guys have pretty much just summarized the same thing. Let's see what happens next. But he's probably got 1.5, 2 years left of his physical peak. Please, Chris Eubank Jr., let's see some meaningful fights. That's all we're asking. That's all we want to see. But yeah, we'll catch up with you next time, guys. Liam, Jason, thanks for coming on as always.
See you soon, guys.